Hi, sixth graders. It is Mrs. Henderson, and you'll notice that I'm working from a computer today. My incredibly techie husband helped me do this from our home computer, so I'm really excited. So please be patient with me. It's my first time doing it. Today's lesson is on direct objects and indirect objects, but you need to have a piece of paper with you because you don't have this paper. So make sure you have a piece of paper because this will be on your test for Friday. So you need to know the difference between a direct object and an indirect object and how to find it or how to find them. Okay. So now that you have a piece of paper, right, you're going to write down a direct object will follow a transitive verb. That may not make sense to you, but go ahead and write it down anyway because I will definitely explain it. A direct object will follow a transitive verb. And you're probably thinking, we've talked about linking verbs and helping verbs and action verbs, but what is a transitive verb? I'm glad you asked because I'm going to explain it to you. So a transitive verb is just an action verb, but it's also an action verb that has to have a direct object behind it. So I want you to do on your paper, draw a number 1 because you've written this part down. First, a transitive verb, and I'm going to go ahead and underline it too. So since you've written this first sentence, a direct object will follow a transitive verb. Underline, highlight, circle. Oops, transitive. I didn't do that on purpose. That's just kind of how it came out. First of all, it has to be an action verb. Now, since I'm working from home and I don't have a touch screen, I'm just using my mouse, so I'm going to write as little as possible. It must be an action verb. Eat, sleep, walk, give, talk. But it also has to have a direct object behind it in order for it to be a transitive verb. Okay, so let's write this next sentence down. Direct objects can be nouns, they can be pronouns, they can be a phrase, or it can be a clause. Okay, so you already have the first sentence. Now write direct objects can be nouns, pronouns, phrases, or clauses. So if an action verb has a direct object behind it, or if a verb, an action verb, has a direct object behind it, then it is a transitive verb. If not, it's just a regular action verb. And I'll show you the difference in a minute. So I know sometimes nouns and verbs get tricky. We talk about them, but we don't always remember what they are. But if you can identify the subject and a verb in a sentence, then finding the direct object, if one exists, because spoiler alert, it's not always going to be there, is easy. Just remember this simple formula. So you don't have to write those two down, but I do want you to write this down. Let's see if I can draw a star. All right. Here's the formula. Subject plus a verb. And actually, if you can, I would write the word transitive up here. I'm not going to attempt that with my mouse in this tiny spot. But if it's a transitive verb, if you guys can hear my daughter, I'm going to attend to her in just a minute. But go ahead and write this down. Subject plus verb plus who or what equals the direct object. Okay, so I'm back. Hopefully you guys didn't hear me talking to my daughter, but I'll have to hear it on the playback. So hopefully by now you have that written down. You have some stars by it. So here are some examples. Anne ate an apple. Pretty simple, right? We know Anne is the subject. Ate is the verb. Now, ate is something I can do, so it's definitely an action verb. So that's also could be a transitive verb. We're going to check. Who or what? Anne ate who or what? Well, she didn't eat a person, but she did eat something. She ate an apple. So yes, that is a transitive verb, and that makes this the D-O, the direct object. Okay, so again, Anne is the subject. ate is the verb. Now, I could have just put a period there, and ate. Done. Nothing would follow after it, so there wouldn't be a direct object. But in this case, there is. What did she eat? She ate the apple. So apple is the direct object. So let me do that again for you. I'll use myself as an example. So we'll use ate. I ate. How did I eat? Let's do I ate slowly. There's only 3 words in the sentence. So what's the subject? I. What's the verb? Ate. It happens to be an action verb because that's something that you can do. What did I eat though? I don't know. I know how I ate. I ate slowly, but I don't know what I ate. So in this case, there's no direct object here. And ate is not a transitive verb. It's just a regular old action verb. Okay? Let's look at the next one. Anne visited her friend in Amsterdam. So hopefully you guys know Anne is the subject. What did she do? She visited. Okay. Well, what or who did she visit? Her friend, right? So friend is a direct object. Okay. And the visited gets to be a transitive verb because there's a direct object. Okay. Now, a verb like ate, I could use by itself, I ate, or I read, period. But Anne visited, usually you want to know what happens after that. Or who did she visit, or where did she visit? Okay. Now, indirect objects, I'm going to go ahead and circle that because that's the second part of our lesson. They have to have, so go ahead and write this down. Indirect objects need direct objects. An indirect object must have a direct object. It can't be by itself. So when the someone, like up here, when the someone or something gets the direct object, that word is the indirect object. And I know that probably sounds like gibberish, so let's look at some examples. Mrs. Frank gave Anne an apple. So let's go back to our formula. Where's the subject? Mrs. Frank. Okay, subject. And I would suggest you guys write this down real quickly. It's super short. Mrs. Frank gave Anne an apple. Write that down. The action verb is gave, and we're not sure if it's transitive yet. It has to have a direct object. What did she give? Did she give Anne or did she give an apple? Hopefully you guys would say she gave an apple, right? So that is the direct object. So we know 2 things. 1, this is a transitive verb, so I'll put a T on top. And second, we know is that there could be an indirect object. Who did Mrs. Frank give the apple to? Anne, right? So Anne is the indirect object. And I'm going to write that down here because there's not room on top. Indirect object. Okay. Mrs. Frank is the subject. Gave is the verb. What did she give? She gave the apple, which is a direct object. Well, who did she give it to? Anne, and Anne is the indirect object. So please label that. Okay. Please write this down as well. Miep gave Anne a ride home. Go ahead and write that down on the piece of paper. And by the way, you're going to send it to me so I can see your notes. So make sure that you send me your notes for this. We're going to do 5 sentences on this page down here. And then you guys are going to follow it up with an IXL assignment. All right, so Miep gave Anne a ride home. Where's the subject? Good. Hopefully you know it's Miep. What did she do? She gave. That's the verb. What did she give? She gave a ride home, right? So she gave a ride. Because it's a what, it's going to be a direct object. Okay. Who? Is there a who? Is there a who that she gave that ride to? Absolutely. And again, it's Anne. So I'm going to put it down here. Anne is the indirect object. Okay. Miep gave a ride home, so that's the direct object. Who did she give it to? Anne, which is the indirect object. Okay. So before we do our activity down here, and again, you don't have this page down here too, so you will write the sentences down, but don't worry, there's only 5. I'm going to try and switch over to IXL using still this video grab. All right. So I'm hoping that you guys can see this. If not, then I have to redo my video. So go ahead and go to